In 2008, the US government captures indestructible killer Jason Voorhees and locks him up at the Crystal Lake Research Facility. 2 years later, scientist Rowan LaFontaine decides to freeze Jason after failing to kill him multiple times. Private Samuel Johnson covers Jason with a blanket while he hangs in chains. Outside, Dr. Wimmer and his team inform Rowan that they plan to stop the freezing process and use Jason for experiments to study his regenerative abilities. Dr. Wimmer and his team enter the room, only to find Jason has somehow escaped his chains. Jason suddenly appears behind them, starting to kill the officers. The officers shoot at him, but the bullets have no effect. Dr. Wimmer tries to flee, but Jason throws a machete, killing him instantly. Jason then throws a guard through a door, landing right in front of Rowan. She asks the guard what happened, but before he can respond, he dies. Looking inside, she sees all the guards are dead. Terrified, she turns around and finds Jason staring at her. She grabs a guard's gun and runs, leading Jason to the cryogenic room. She shoots at him, but he keeps coming. She then kicks one of the containers, sending him into a cryogenic chamber and trapping him. As a machine starts to freeze him, Jason stabs Rowan through the door, hitting her in the stomach. A machete makes a huge hole in the chamber, causing cryogenic gas to spill out. Because of the gas, both Jason and Rowan freeze, and no one checks on them for over 400 years. Fast forward to the year 2455, where a group of researchers enters the frozen room and discovers both Rowan and Jason still frozen and preserved. In 400 years, no one had touched the door or even thought to check the room. The researchers turn out to be students led by Professor Lowe, including Azrael Janessa, an android named KM-14, and Cineron, who created and programmed KM-14. They decide to revive Rowan, so the group rushes to carry her back to their spaceship. In the rush, Jason's body falls, and his frozen machete effortlessly slices off Azrael's arm. However, KM quickly secures the wound and injects him with a pain reliever. As the group brings Rowan and Jason to the ship, we then learn that Earth has become too polluted to support life. Humanity has moved to a new planet, Earth 2, located about 20 light years away in the next solar system. The ship takes off and reaches the main spaceship, the Grendel, where the crew takes Rowan to defrost and heal her wound, Jason for an autopsy, and Azrael to have his arm reattached. Since it's the future, Azrael's arm is quickly reattached using nanobots, tiny microscopic machines that resemble ants. Professor Lowe assigns researcher Adrian to perform Jason's autopsy and puts students Kinsa and Stoney in charge of assisting her. Unfortunately, Kinsa and Stoney are too busy making out right next to Jason's body, so Adrian gets annoyed and sends them away. Now alone with Jason, Adrian starts the autopsy by removing one of his eyes and dropping it into liquid nitrogen for preservation. She then cuts off his mask, revealing his face for the first time, which looks like zombie. As Adrian examines samples under a microscope, Jason's body slowly thaws, and he starts moving without her noticing. Moments later, he suddenly wakes up, grabs Adrian, dunks her face into the liquid nitrogen, and then smashes it against the desk, shattering it instantly. Jason then grabs a large serrated blade from the autopsy table and begins wandering around the ship. Meanwhile, Rowan is revived and healed by the nanobots. When she wakes up, Lowe informs her that she is now in the year 2455. He also explains that Earth is no longer habitable and that the Grendel is on its way to Earth 2. In another room, Lowe calls his superior, hoping to profit from Rowan, but is disappointed when told that a 455-year-old woman isn't as valuable as he expected. Lowe had planned to make money by showcasing her, as he is financially struggling. However, his superior then realizes that the other person brought on board is Jason Voorhees and suggests that Jason could be worth a fortune. Lowe returns to talk with Rowan, and she explains Jason's backstory. She tells him that Jason was captured in 2008, and after multiple failed attempts to execute him, the decision was made to freeze him instead. After a brief conversation, Lowe takes Rowan to meet the rest of the students, but is interrupted by Waylander, who asks Lowe where to store Jason's machete. Realizing Jason is on the ship, Rowan warns everyone that he's an unstoppable killing machine. Jason might harm them all. Lowe argues that they scanned Jason's body and confirmed he's dead, but Rowan insists the scan could be wrong, warning that Jason might still be alive. Rowan demands to see Jason, and when they check, everyone realizes he is still alive. The head of the security, Brodsky, puts the ship on lockdown and orders all the students to lock themselves in Lab 1 and prepares his security team to hunt down Jason. Meanwhile, Stoney and Kinsa are just finished make out, and when Stoney goes to the door, Jason appears at their door, stabs Stoney, and drags his body away. In another room, Dallas and Azrael are playing a virtual reality game that doesn't require a controller. To their shock, Jason walks up and kills a monster in the game. Azrael dismisses it as a glitch, even though he had seen Jason's body earlier. They soon learn that Jason is real and coming after them. Jason kills Azrael by breaking his back, and later Dallas is killed after having his face smashed on the wall. Meanwhile, as Brodsky heads to meet with his team, Lowe stops him and begs him to capture Jason alive. Initially, Brodsky refuses, but he changes his mind when Lowe offers him $500,000 for a live capture. After Lowe leaves, Brodsky tells his team to kill Jason. Brodsky's team quickly finds Jason and opens fire, lighting him up with bullets. But just as suddenly, Jason disappears. Brodsky's team searches Jason, but he is nowhere to be found. Suddenly, Jason appears behind a soldier, drags him into a secluded hallway, and snaps his neck. Jason then throws another soldier onto a large screw, impaling him. Another soldier backs into Jason in the dark, and he swiftly slashes her neck open. One soldier manages to hook Jason onto a large spike. He then happily informs the group he successfully captures Jason. He leaps off and cuts him in half. Another soldier is killed off-screen, but her body is later seen hanging on a hook. In the end, Brodsky is the only survivor of his team and affrightedly searches Jason. He is also grabbed by Jason through a wall and stabbed twice. Meanwhile, the ship's engineer, Crutch, reaches Lab 1 just as the students learn that the entire security team is dead. Lowe calls the ship's pilot, Lou, who tells him they're approaching the Solaris space station, where a larger team of soldiers is waiting to take down Jason. Before Lou can dock, Jason appears and kills him, causing the ship to veer off course. Instead of docking, it crashes into the space station. Miraculously, the ship remains mostly intact, but Solaris is left mostly destroyed. As Lowe, Syneron, Kinsa, Waylander, Janessa, Rowan, Crutch, and KM-14 try to figure out their next move, Jason suddenly crashes through a window, forcing them all to run. Jason approaches Lowe. Frightened, Lowe tells Jason he will give anything, money, fame, and together they will make fortune. But Jason sees his original machete and kills Lowe with it. The rest of the group decides their best option is to reach the shuttle and escape the ship. Crutch and Waylander head to the bridge to initiate pre-launch while the others make their way to the shuttle. Along the way, Rowan spots one of Brodsky's team members and takes her weapon. Syneron and KM-14 grab more weapons, and KM alerts Syneron that they only have a 12% chance of survival. They kiss, and KM reassures him that the chances are now 53%. On their way to the shuttle, Rowan, Kinsa, and Janessa find a still-alive Brodsky. Rowan sends Kinsa and Janessa ahead to the shuttle and calls Waylander for help in moving Brodsky, but when they return, he's gone. Meanwhile, Crutch is preparing the shuttle for pre-launch, but before he can finish, Jason appears behind him, holding Lowe's head, and kills him. Hearing the noise, Kinsa locks herself inside the shuttle while the rest of the group pleads with her to open the door. Unable to handle the situation, Kinsa releases the shuttle, but since the fuel lines are still attached, it crashes into the grindle, and Kinsa dies. Jason is about to attack Janessa, Waylander, and Rowan, but Syneron steps in with a violent upgrade for KM-14. Now armed with multiple weapons, KM shoots Jason down a hallway, kicks him through several rooms, and is about to shoot him in the head, but Jason knocks her off. Just as Jason is about to finish her off, a still-alive Brodsky appears and stabs Jason in the shoulder. KM takes advantage of the distraction, shoots off Jason's arm, and kicks him through a wall. With a massive gun, KM blows Jason's leg off, shoots a hole in his chest, and blows half his face off. With Jason seemingly dead, the group rushes Brodsky to a lab to have the nanobots heal him. Meanwhile, Waylander discovers that the ship is only 30 minutes away from self-destruction due to the extensive damage it has taken. They then contact another ship, the Tiamat, which responds and informs them it will take 45 minutes to reach them, but they only have 30 minutes left. The group decides to buy themselves more time by moving to another part of the ship and blowing up the connecting walkways. As they leave to carry out their plan, Jason's body conveniently falls onto a bed that contains the nanobots. The computers in the room malfunction, turn on by themselves, and deploy the nanobots. The nanobots begin covering Jason's body, but the computer initially aborts the procedure, citing insufficient tissue for reconstruction. However, it cancels the abort order and starts gathering synthetic material from around the room. Meanwhile, the survivors finish setting up the bombs around the walkways and are shocked when Jason, now fully resurrected, enters the room. KM shoots at Jason, but her weapons have no effect as his body no fully transformed into metallic. Jason then simply punches her head off. Syneron grabs KM's head while Rowan tries to stop Jason by grabbing his arm, preventing him from killing Syneron. Waylander charges at Jason, but is easily knocked away. As Jason tosses Waylander around like a ragdoll, Janessa presses the button to close the walkway doors. Rowan and Syneron, carrying KM's head, make it to the other side with Janessa just as the doors closed. Brodsky enters the room, and upon realizing Jason is back, orders the group to blow the charges and destroy the walkway. Meanwhile, inside, Waylander holding the trigger, who sacrifices himself to detonate the explosives and obliterate the walkway. The remaining survivors get a message from the Tiamat, which is approaching. As they celebrate, Jason punches a hole through the wall from outside. As the group struggles to hold on while everything gets sucked out through the hole, Janessa is unable to hold on and is killed. Rowan, Brodsky, and Syneron, still carrying Kim, rush through several rooms toward the evacuation door as Jason breaks through the wall and enters the ship. The Tiamat connect to the ship via a walkway, but the doors doesn't open. Syneron tries to open them manually, but discovers the power is down. Brodsky volunteers to do a spacewalk to reroute the power. Realizing that Jason will reach them before Brodsky can finish, Syneron connects KM to the computer and activates a diversion using a hologram projector. Jason enters a room just as the hologram activates, transforming the room into Crystal Lake. Two young female counselors appear before Jason, offering him beer, drugs, and premarital romance. He kills them by tying them up in their sleeping bags and repeatedly slamming one against the other. Brodsky and Rowan finally manage to open the door, just in time as the ship starts to explode due to Jason punching a hole in it earlier. Rowan helps Syneron through the walkway to the Tiamat, but then runs back to the Grendel to grab KM's head. As she grabs KM's head, she realizes Jason is no longer fooled by the hologram and is coming after them. Rowan sprints back to the Tiamat, and just as Jason is about to follow her through the walkway, the doors close. Jason turns around to see Brodsky has closed the doors, trapping them both on the exploding ship. With Rowan, KM, and Syneron safe aboard the Tiamat, it disengages from the Grendel and flies off. On the Grendel, Brodsky and Jason are ready to fight, but the ship suddenly explodes. Rowan, KM, and Syneron watch the explosion from the Tiamat, only to be shocked when Jason is launched from the explosion toward them. Before Jason reaches them, Brodsky appears out of nowhere, grabs Jason, and pushes him, preventing him from reaching the Tiamat. Brodsky successfully pushes Jason off course, sending him directly towards Second Earth. The two plummet into the planet's atmosphere, igniting as they re-enter. On Earth Second, a couple spots the burning wreckage and mistake it for a shooting star. They kiss, and the movie ends. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more interesting movie recaps.